watching Witches of the Moon, and I am your Wednesday host, Amethyst Moon, and this week's topic is over Sabbats and Esbats. I'm just going to go into a little bit of detail for each Sabbat, and I will give you a little bit of description on how I celebrate it, and which ones are my favorites. And so let's get started. To start off, Sabbats are seasonal festivals which mark the turning of the year and the cycles of nature, so our seasons. In the Western Hemisphere, which is where I'm at, we celebrate 8 Sabbats, and I will go into a little bit of detail over each one. And yeah, so all the information that I am giving is out of my Book of Shadows, and the information that I received, that I put into my Book of Shadows, was off of a website called paganlibrary.com. So you're welcome to go there and check it out. Everything that I'm going to be saying is from there anyway. That's where I got all of my information, and that's where I have used some of the information that I received from that website to incorporate into my rituals and things like that. Correspondences, however, are going to be my own, because somebody said to me the other day that correspondences are very personal, and I do believe that, because everybody sees things in their own way. So colors that I use to represent one Sabbat might not resonate with you. You would use your own, but these are just my views, my opinions, and how I see the Sabbats as they are. So yes, so let's get started. The first one that I am going to talk about is Samhain. For me, Samhain is the start of the new year, as it is the Witches' New Year. Samhain falls on October 31st, also known as Halloween or All Hallows' Eve. The veil between the two worlds is the thinnest at this time. You have a greater chance of connecting with your ancestors and your spirit. Well, everybody connects with their spirit guides at their own time, but mainly your ancestors. It's a time to remember and celebrate the life of your ancestors. Things that you can do during this time is I know a few people that only set up an ancestor altar at this time. Currently, I'm one of them, but I have considered setting one up to have up all year round. I just haven't done it yet. But I always do try to set one up, or a table or something to represent and give thanks and celebrate the life of my ancestors and those that have passed before me. Another thing you can do for the Sabbat is have a dumb supper. A dumb supper is it's an occasion that's a very solemn occasion. It's when you would set a place at your table for all your family and friends that have passed within that year, and then you would feast with them. So it's a very solemn. I've done it once, and it's a very, very solemn time. And it's just something you would have to experience if you've never done it before. I felt very connected with the people that I had lost that year, and it's gives me goosebumps just thinking about it and talking about it. The colors that I see for this time of year would be purple, brown, like a burnt orange color, like a dark orange color. So that's just a little bit of how I see Samhain. Some of the things I had written down in my Book of Shadows is it's known as the Death Festival. It marks the descent of winter. The leaves are falling from the trees in drifts, and the life is drawn away from the surface of the earth. The descendants deep into the earth. Life is now in the roots and bulbs of plants which rest over the winter. The horned god, who is the Lord of life and wild green wood, has now truly taken his throne as Lord of the underworld, the dread Lord of shadows, the comforter of souls. So that's what I have written down in my Book of Shadows. And like I said, that spot came from paganlibrary.com. The next Sabbat that we would talk about is Yule. Yule happens on December 21st. It is the longest night of the year, shortest day, longest night. Some of the things that you can do to celebrate Yule would be to have a Yule log. Some of the things that I like to use in my house to represent Yule would be a tree. Now, I have one that I have inside my house. It's just a little 4-foot fake tree. I decorate that one for Christmas because my daughter is into the whole Santa Claus thing right now. But I do like to have a tree that I don't know. There's a tree outside that I like to sit under and meditate under, and it's my oak tree outside, and the tree is far too large for me to decorate, but I give thanks to that tree because this is a time, Yule is a time to give thanks to the tree spirits and let them know that they are welcome to rest until the spring. So that's what I do. Some of the colors that I like to use for Yule would be red and green. It's traditional Christmas colors, yes, I know, but those are the two that represent this time of year, Yule, best for me is red and green. A favorite herb I like to use during Yule is any of the evergreen leaves like pine or aspen sprigs off the tree. I also like to use holly and mistletoe around this time. Out of my Book of Shadows, it says, Yule is a time we celebrate the return of the waxing sun. Light and life can be seen to be returning and conquering death. Yule is a turning point, a point of change, where the tides and the year turn and begin to flow in the opposite direction. It is the darkest time of the year, the time of the longest night, but there is the promise of the return of light. We encourage the sun to rise and grow in power, and we remember the seasons of plenty. Magically, we bring back the season of plenty, and we feast on rich foods and drinks. The fir tree represents life amidst death. It is evergreen, representing everlasting life and lasting friendship. Again, that came from paganlibrary.com. It is word for word what's on the website, but it came from my Book of Shadows, and I'm not copywriting because I'm telling you where it came from. So that is what I have written down in my Book of Shadows for Yule. Next would be Imbolc, which happens around February 1st, or the 2nd. I've celebrated interchangeably, just depending on what's best for me at the time. The goddess Bridget is best represented during this time of year. One of the things that you can do for Imbolc is make a Bridget's cross, and I'll put a link down in the description bar of a place that I go to learn how to make them. Once you've made them a couple of times, you pretty much remember off the top of your head, but I always like to look back and reference the websites that I look at to get my ideas and to get my, to get the instructions on how to make them. You can use plenty of things to make these Bridget crosses. You can use straw or hay, or I've seen them done in corn husks, but I've also seen them done in pipe cleaners. So anything that has that's flexible and you can bend, you can make a Bridget's cross out of it. Some of the colors that I like to use to represent Imbolc would be blue and green and yellow. Let's see, in my Book of Shadows it says, the festival of Imbolc is celebrated around the 2nd or 1st of February by pagans and by Christians who call it Candlemas. Imbolc is Irish, translated variously as in the belly and ooze milk, and represents the quickening of light and life. The first stirring of the coming of spring can be seen as the first flowers begin to appear. Seeds which have lain dormant within the earth over the cold winter months begin to stir with life as yet unseen. At Imbolc, we celebrate the awakening light of the soul. Our spirits begin to quicken as we anticipate the rebirth of nature. Now is the time for the banishing of winter and welcoming the spring. We welcome the goddess, who is renewed, reborn as the flower maiden. She has passed through her phase as the hag, crone, or wise one, and is in the and is a maiden again. Bridget is a threefold Celtic goddess who has been Christianized into Saint Bridget, whose day is celebrated on the 1st of February. So that was a little bit of Imbolc. Next would be the spring equinox, otherwise known as Ostara. It is celebrated around the 21st of March. The biggest thing that is represented with this Sabbat is the egg. The egg sorry, I had to look at my notes. The egg is a representation of rebirth. The yolk inside the egg is a representation of the sun, and the white, or the white of the egg, is represented as the goddess. So I use a lot of egg things in my house around Ostara. I've lit egg-shaped candles that I only use on Ostara. I found one more that I'm going to use next year for Ostara, and I was given some from a friend of mine, little egg candles. So that's my favorite thing that I use to represent Ostara, is the egg. Rabbits can also be represented. Some flowers that I like to use, or herbs that I like to use for Ostara, would be daffodil. I like to give them as offerings. And probably heather. I think them are the only two I can think of right now. Sorry, there's a cop outside and I don't know why. Anyway, what I have written in my Book of Shadows for Ostara is, this festival is named after the Anglo-Saxon goddess Ostara, also known in the Old German as Ostara. She may also be connected with the Greek and Roman Greek Eos and the Roman Aurora, cannot talk, both dawn goddesses, and with the Babylonian Ishtar, and Ishtar is a love goddess. The days grow lighter. This is what I have written down. The days grow lighter and the earth grows warmer as at Imbolc, seeds may be blessed and planted. Seeds of wisdom, Seeds of wisdom, understanding, and magical skills may also be planted. Eggs may be used for the creation of talismans or ritually eaten. This is a time of growth and balance, and we may work on balancing ourselves and the subtle energies within us, such as our chakras, the inner masculine and feminine qualities, the light and the dark aspects, etc. The equinox is also the time of Persephone's return from the underworld to reunite with her mother Demeter, making the earth green again. That's what I have written down for that. Next would be Beltane. Beltane is celebrated on May 1st, also known as May Day. Some of the things that you can do on Beltane is you can do a maypole. You can do I'm trying to remember the name of them. Giving baskets. I like to do giving baskets. What a giving basket is you take a basket and you fill it with starter plants from your garden, and you take them and you take this basket and you put it on a neighbor or friend or somebody that is new to your neighborhood. You just put it on their porch. You don't necessarily have to tell them who it's from. I like to leave a little note. They change from year to year what I write, but that's what I like to do for May Day, is do giving baskets. Some of the colors that I use to represent Beltane would be any bright color, but nothing neon, not like hot pink or hot orange, not like that. So just a bright color like red or bright orange or bright green or bright blue, any of the bright colors. It's kind of the opposite from the colors I like to use for Ostara, which I don't think I gave. The colors that I like to use for Ostara is any pastel colors, so light pink, light green, light blue, any of the really pastel colors is what I like to use for Ostara. Beltane to me is just the opposite. I like to use those same colors but in a brighter aspect, because to me Beltane represents vibrant things. The flowers are starting to bloom and things are starting to happen, and it just reminds me of bright colors, so that's what I like to use for Beltane. What I have in my Book of Shadows for Beltane is thus. This is the time when sweet desire weds wild delight. The maiden of spring and the lord of the waxing year meet in the green fields and rejoice together under the warm sun. The shift of life is twined, and a spiral web of all nature is renewed. We meet in the time of flowering to dance and dance of life. The cattle were driven through the ashes or between two Beltane fires to ensure a good milk yield. The maypole is used in May Day festivities, represents both the phallus and the goddess. It is also the world tree connecting the three worlds, its root in the underworld, its branches in the heavens, and the shaman's spirit may travel between the realms via the world tree, and the phallus is also connected with life, death, and love. So that's what I have written for Beltane. Next would be Litha, or the summer solstice. Summer solstice was just celebrated on June 21st. The summer solstice to me represents, it's all about the god during the summer solstice. The reason I focus more of my attention on the God aspect this time of year is because without him, we wouldn't have the harvest festivals that we will have coming up. So right now he is warming, and he is divine energy to help the plants and the harvest grow for our bounty feast that will be coming in the fall harvests. So that's why I like to devote my attention towards the God this time of year, because I see it as, like I said, if we didn't have him this time of year, we would not have our harvest for the fall. The colors I like to use for Litha are fire colors, red, yellow, and orange. Those are the colors that I like to represent Litha. What I have written down in my Book of Shadows is, at the summer solstice, the sun is at its highest and brightest, and the day is at its longest. The Lord of Light has fought the powers of darkness and is triumphant. I can't talk. Ensuring fertility in the end. But in doing so, he sows the seeds of his own death. The wheel turns, and the dark god, the Holly King, begins to wax in power as the light god, Oak King, wanes. The goddess shows her death in life aspect. The earth is fertile, and all is in bloom. The goddess reaches out to the fertilizing sun god at the height of his power. At the same time, he presides over the death of the god. The goddess dances her dance of life and death, and the sun god loves her and dies of his love. The summer solstice is a time of fulfillment of love. That's what I have written down. Again, I will stress, everything that I am reading is from the website paganlibrary.com. Okay? That's where I'm getting all the information that is going into my Book of Shadows. It's already been in my Book of Shadows, but that is where I got the information from. So I'm not copywriting, because I'm telling you where it's coming from. The next Sabbat is Lammas. It's celebrated on August 1st. Lammas is celebrated August Eve or August 1st and is the festival of the first harvest. Lammas is the Anglo-Saxon name of the festival meaning loaf mass. Lammas is a time of the fullness of life and a celebration of bountiful earth. It is a time of the sacrificial mating of the goddess and god, where the corn king is given life by the goddess, and tasting of her love is sacrificed and transformed into bread and ale, which feeds us. The main themes of Lammas may therefore be seen as thanksgiving to the goddess and her bountiful harvest, starting our hopes for what we wish to harvest, for Lammas is the very beginning of the harvest sacrifice. So, Lammas, I just read that from my Book of Shadows. Lammas is the first harvest festival, and it is another god festival. We represent the god the most in this festival also, because he is still using his energy to give us the nourishment that we need to continue on. So again, if we did not thank him, I myself would feel that I'm not thankful enough for what he gives us in the fall during these harvests. So again, I choose to celebrate along with the goddess. I also celebrate along with the god. The reason I feel like I have to say that is because I don't always, when I do ritual, I don't always celebrate with the god. there's only a few Sabbats that I bring him into my ritual, and the harvest festivals and Litha, the harvest festivals and the summer solstice, are the ones where I celebrate with the god and goddess both. So, next is Mabon, or also known as the autumn equinox, which happens on September 21st. This is a really long video, so I'm just going to go ahead and read this out of my Book of Shadows, what I have written down, because I'm at 25 minutes already. The two equinoxes are times of equilibrium, the autumn equinox and the summer solstice. The autumn equinox and the spring equinox. I have the two equinoxes are times of equilibrium. Day and night are equal, and the tides of the year flow steadily. But while the spring equinox manifests the equilibrium before action, the autumn equinox represents the repose of action and time to take satisfaction into work, and the summer of reaping its benefits. The autumn equinox is the second harvest festival, with fruit being gathered in. We celebrate the abundance of the earth and make wine from the excess fruit to preserve the richness of the fruits of the earth and give us joy throughout the year. This is a time of the vine, which, the grapevine. The god who was lord of the greenwood in the summer, and the corn king of Lammas, now dances his last dance upon the earth. As the god of wine, music, and dance, before making his descent to the underworld to take up his role as the dread lord of shadows. The lord of light, the sun king, his power waning, exists briefly in the balance of the dark lord before giving way to the growing power of darkness, but the power of the sun is encapsulated in the grape and the fruits of the earth. That's what I have written down for that. So, again, I just wanted to stress that everything I read is out of my Book of Shadows, but the information I obtained to put into my Book of Shadows was from the website paganlibrary.com. Again, I'll put it down in the description bar. That way you can go and check out their website as well, and you can get the same information that I just gave you. Basically, the reason I wrote it down like that in my Book of Shadows is because, to me, it gives me the best representation of how I see the Sabbats. And when I do my ritual work and when I do my spell work during these Sabbats, I do incorporate some of what I have written in my Book of Shadows into my ritual. And it changes yearly, but I keep the information all the time because it just resonates the best with me. So again, I got the information from paganlibrary.com. I will put it in the description bar. And until next week, blessed be.